Welcome back to Sidelined. I'm your host, Matt Samson. Before we get going, remember, like, subscribe, leave a comment. It really helps the channel, and I appreciate it. My first takeaway, the Packers are frauds. This was maybe the game of the week. Packers-Patriots, 4:30 at Lambeau Field. Aaron Rodgers with Brian Hoyer. Everybody thought this game was going to be a blowout. Rodgers was going to smoke the Patriots and went literally to the last second of overtime. That's how long it took Rodgers to beat the Patriots. With their third-string quarterback, Bailey Zappi, who has never thrown a pass in the NFL before yesterday's game. If I'm a Packers fan, it was fucking embarrassing. I'd be ashamed to be a Packers fan. Frankly, the Patriots should have won. If they had any competent quarterback, they would have won. They're very conservative with the play calling. If I'm the Packers, I'm fucking concerned. The receivers don't look good. The defense, the running game, the Patriots running game gashed the Packers. Rodgers made some bad throws. He kind of looks fed up. I think the Packers are frauds. I think Rodgers will never win another Super Bowl. I wouldn't pick them to go anywhere deep in the playoffs. My second takeaway, the Bills and the Chiefs are still the class of the AFC. Everyone likes to do this thing in the preseason. They like to see who got the most players in free agency, and they like to crown their ass before they do anything. Everyone was crowning the fucking Chargers before they did anything. Everyone was crowning the Colts when they got Matt Ryan. Well, you know what? At the end of the day, you know what you're getting in Kansas City and Buffalo. You know, two heavyweight teams. Kansas City, they almost blew out the Buccaneers. Buffalo, come from behind win against a really good Baltimore team. At the end of the day, you know these two teams are going to be vying for the Super Bowl. I think these are the two favorites to come out of the AFC and be in the Super Bowl this season. My third takeaway is watch out for Philadelphia. The Eagles are legit this year. I'm always one that kind of question these running quarterbacks. How are they going to do? The Eagles got a good squad. They have a really good physical defense. They have a good running game with Miles Sanders, Jalen Hurd, Kenneth Gainwell, and they got weapons now. They finally hit on a receiver, Devontae Smith, after missing on Jalen Reagor. They got Dallas Goedert, who's a really good receiving tight end, and most importantly, they got A.J. Brown, one of the best acquisitions of the offseason. They play in a shitty division, so they're going to have a bunch of easy games. They're going to have a good record. They're going to have home playoff games. They're the only undefeated team in the league. They're 4-0. I don't think they're the best team in the NFC, and I don't think they're the best team in the league, but they are definitely among the best, and they should be taken seriously as a Super Bowl contender this year. All right, let's go to my quick hitters now. All right, first game, Dolphins-Bengals. The big story coming out of this game, Cincinnati won 27-15. People aren't talking about that. People are talking about Tua Tagovailoa. He got a concussion, or people thought it was a concussion in the previous game. He came back in the game. They ended up calling it a back injury when he clearly hit his head. He was clear to play this week. In the second quarter, he got dinged up. It was actually really scary. Like, he couldn't move any of his hands or fingers. It was like kind of like, looked like he was like almost paralyzed. They had to bring the stretcher. He's ruled out for this week. He's doing okay now. Everyone was really on the NFL for letting him play. The Players Association, they're going to try and sue the league. It's becoming a whole thing. My take on it, it's unfortunate, and they probably did sham it. He definitely should not have played. He definitely had a concussion. But at the end of the day, when you sign up to play football, you know what you're doing. You know the risk you're taking. It's sad, but if he really was concerned, and didn't think he could play, it's ultimately his decision. And I think when you sign up, you go on the field, you know what you're doing. It is concerning. I do think there are a lot of protocols. It's gotten a lot better. They're still not there, but I think it goes both ways. Next game, Vikings-Saints. This was, in London, Brimley Field in London. Usually these London games are kind of duds. This one was a thriller. It went down to the very end. Kirk Cousins versus Andy Dalton. Two shitbag quarterbacks, but it ended up being a really good game. The Saints took it to the end without Winston, without Michael Thomas, without Alvin Kamara. I thought the Vikings were going to win handily with all those Saints injuries. Kirk Cousins, believe it or not, actually made some decent throws. He still sucks. He still has no balls. The Vikings will never go anywhere as long as he's the QB. But it was nice. Those London games are always nice. You'll wake up, 9:30, there's football on, you have some pancakes, some coffee on a nice side. It's a good way to start the day. I like the London games. All right, next game, Commanders-Cowboys. I mean, this was a shit show. The Cowboys beat the Commanders handily. I don't think anyone's surprised there because Carson Wentz, I'll say it again, I think Carson Wentz is the fucking worst quarterback in the league. This man is terrible. He can't throw. He can't command an offense. Oh, he can throw. Just not to the right team. He can't command an offense. He's a fucking second pick in the draft. He's a bust. The biggest story, because we all know they suck, is Cooper Rush is 4-0 as a starter. Cooper Rush, everyone thought the Cowboys season was over. Dak, forget it. Now people are saying, should Cooper Rush start? I wouldn't go that far because he's not as dynamic as Dak. Cooper Rush cannot lose you games. Dak can win you games. So I wouldn't start Cooper Rush, but he has proved himself to be a very, very capable backup, and they're in good hands as long as Dak needs. They don't need to rush him back because Cooper Rush can hold down the fort. So if I'm the Cowboys, I'd be optimistic for when Dak comes back. All right, I mean, this was fucking this game sucks. Bears, Giants, two fucking terrible franchises. No one cares. I feel bad for people who have to watch this game. Giants are 3-1 somehow. I think they're the most fraudulent winning team in the league. They've played no one. They've really beat no one. I still think they suck. If they made the playoffs, I'd be shocked. Regardless of that, though, the Bears have never had a quarterback in my entire life. Jay Cutler is the best Bears quarterback in my entire life, and he sucks and blows. They drafted Justin Fields last year. He sucks. He blows. They're done. They're fucked. They are fucked. They should draft a quarterback. They're rebuilding. They don't even have the quarterback. They thought they had him. They took a high pick on him last year, ahead of Mac Jones. Stupid. They'll be drafting a quarterback next year. They have Darnell Mooney. All these guys, they can't even get him the ball because Fields is terrible. Bears are fucked. Next. Jets Steelers. Believe it or not, the Jets somehow won this game at Heinz Field. The Steelers did what I said last episode. They finally turned to Kenny Pickett because Mitch Trubisky blows. He gives you nothing. He's a turnover waiting to happen, and they still lost. Kenny Pickett came in through three. He gave a jolt at first. They scored. He had a couple rushing touchdowns, and they took the lead, but he ultimately threw 3 picks. I'm not concerned about it, though. There's going to be growing pains. Not all those throws were his fault. Some of them were like 50-50 balls. His receivers. I know Claypool made a bad play that should have been caught. Ride it out with Pickett. See how he is. See if he can get you, because you know what Mitch Trubisky is. You know Trubisky isn't the guy. He can only get you so far. You don't know with Pickett. There's an unknown factor. So I think it's good they turn to Pickett, see what you got, so that if he's not the guy, you can move on faster, because the Steelers have a good defense and a lot of receivers, so you might as well find out now. As for the Jets, listen, they're terrible. They're not a good team. They may be a little better than we thought. They may not be fucking hot garbage like, everyone thought they were the New Year. They might just be, a little garbage, not hot garbage, just regular garbage. All right, Jacksonville versus Philadelphia. It's actually not a bad game. Philadelphia took a really early lead. Actually, that's bullshit. It was not a great game. Then Jacksonville kind of came back, kind of a bullshit comeback. The Eagles won handily in the rain. Didn't look pretty, but Eagles did get the win. I think Jacksonville's a lot better this year. They're always one of the worst, 2 or 3 teams in the league. I think this year they'll be vying for a playoff spot. When they do the thing, it says like in the hunt. You'll always see them. I don't think they'll make it, but I do think they're on the rise with Peterson, with Lawrence, and some of the weapons they got. Philadelphia, are they the best team in the league? People are, wondering after a 4-0 start. I would say no. I'm still taking Buffalo. I'm still taking Kansas City. Tampa Bay, even though they're 2-2, because of the quarterbacks. With that said, Jalen Hurts looks good. He can make plays with his arm, with his legs. They have a really good defense. They play in a really weak division. They're going to be there in the playoffs, and they may have home playoff games, and that may be the difference versus some of these NFC teams. So I wouldn't say they're the best team in the league, but be on the lookout for Philly. All right, we got Baltimore, Buffalo. This was one of the best games of the week also. Buffalo was down, I think 21-0, 20-3, something like that. They come all the way back. Baltimore blows another game. You had Marcus Peters, wanting to fight Harbaugh, exploding on the sideline. That feels like a locker room, like waiting to fucking explode. I'm not worried about Baltimore, though. I think they'll be in the playoffs. They're still really good, but they got to start, protecting these leads. That's 2 games they blew with big leads over good teams. They have to start closing out these games. And listen, part of it's on Lamar Jackson. He's explosive. He's a fucking electrifying quarterback. Everyone knows that. But part of it, too, is holding down leads and, making those first downs at the end of games to, drain the clock. And he's going to get better at that. As for Buffalo, Josh Allen is amazing. He had some plays, some runs. It was all broken down. Nothing there. He just makes it happen. He turns nothing into something. He's unbelievable. He can make all the throws. As long as they have Josh Allen, I think Buffalo will be right there with Kansas City. I'd be on Super Bowl watch for Buffalo this year. All right, this game, this is garbage with garbage. But it was a really close game. It was 48-45. Seattle snuck one out in Detroit. No defense in this one. It was just a shootout, which you get with a lot of those dome games in Detroit. Geno Smith versus Jared Goff. You want to talk about 2 shitty quarterbacks. They're both terrible. My big takeaway is not Seattle because, they're playing in a dome, you're playing the Lions, whatever. It's the Lions. A lot of people thought, even me, I thought, all right, after Hard Knocks, they're going to be a friskier team, harder team to beat. It looks like they're still the same old Lions. They're 1-3. You got to beat Seattle at home with Geno Smith. You gotta win that game. And they're playing the Patriots this week in New England. Pats coming off a close loss. Lions are still the Lions. They're still Detroit. Nothing to do in Detroit, football or otherwise. All right, next we got Tennessee versus the Colts. Matt Ryan blows. Sam, great guy. I love Sam. He's a good friend of mine. We've had him on the program. He likes Boston College for some reason. Boston College sucks. I don't think I know anyone else from Massachusetts who root for Boston College. It's all the rich, preppy kids. That's not real Boston. It's not. It's the wannabe. Chestnut Hill. Get the fuck out of here. Matt Ryan, he represents Boston College in the best way because he's a fucking wannabe pussy. He sucks. The Colts suck. They're 1-3. Everyone thought they were going to be good. And they tied one game. They tied the Texans. They lost to Jacksonville. You lost to Tennessee. Those are 3 division games for fucking shitty opponents you need to beat. The Colts, looks like they're front runners. They're not as good as we thought they were. I don't know what it is. They should be better. They're not. Tennessee, they're a typical average team. I love Mike Vrabel as a coach. I like Henry. I just don't think they have enough to contend like they did last year. Texans, Chargers. This was actually a closer game than it probably should have been. The Chargers were up 21-0. Early lead, came out of the gates. Eckler finally got going. Herbert throwing the rock to Gerald Everett. Keenan Allen still out. Chargers almost blow it, though. The Texans came back. Dameon Pierce had some big runs. Davis Mills made a few big throws to Brandon Cooks. Closer than it should have been. I'm still willing to give the Chargers a couple weeks to figure it out. They have a lot of injuries. Rashawn Slater, one of the best left tackles in the league, out for the year. Joey Bosa's banged up. Keenan Allen hasn't played in 3 weeks. Let's see what it looks like when they get back Bosa, when they get back Keenan Allen. Maybe be a little better. But I still think the coach is a fucking moron. And, you know, they still got Kansas City still a juggernaut. The Chargers, I think, will be in the playoffs this year. But they might not be quite the team we thought they were going to be. It might be a year early for them. All right, next we got Cleveland versus Atlanta. 2 terrible teams, 2 terrible franchises. Everybody thought Cleveland would be better this season, including me. And maybe they are. They got Deshaun Watson, who likes his masseuses a little bit too much. He's out 11 games. For now, you get Jacoby Brissett. Listen, you got to beat the Falcons. If you can't beat Marcus Mariota, you're not going anywhere. And even though Jacoby Brissett's decent, they had a good win against Pittsburgh last week. That win's not looking as great now that Pittsburgh just lost to the Jets. They might be worse than we thought. Cleveland, they're your typical average team. They'll be, around 500. Probably won't do much. The Falcons, they suck. They still suck. I like some of their guys. I like Drake London. I like Kyle Pitts, but Mariota blows. They're rebuilding. Falcons are the Falcons. All right, you talk about a lot of shitty games this week. Carolina, Arizona, just 2 terrible franchises, 2 quarterbacks who I think are not very good, both from Oklahoma. Figures. Baker Mayfield's done. He's cooked. His career, I think, is over. Everyone was making excuses for him in Cleveland, including me. I really didn't know. Injuries, they didn't want him. Well, here's your chance. You go to Carolina. He's done nothing in 4 weeks. He's undersized. They're batting every ball. He's done. He looks like he's going to be a backup rest of his career. As for the Cardinals, obviously, you got to win this game. Kyler Murray still doesn't do it for me. I still think Kingsbury's an idiot, and I think the Cardinals suck. They always suck. Arizona Cardinals. When you think of the Arizona Cardinals, you think of 3rd place and a losing record, because they stink, and that hasn't changed this season. Raiders Broncos. This was a close game. The Raiders finally broke the seal. They finally won a game. 0-3. They probably should have been 2-1, but beat Denver. Close game at home. Got to win these division games because they're going to be vying for. If they turn it around, they'll be vying for Denver with a playoff spot. Tiebreaker games really matter. Still not sold on the Raiders. I still think Derek Carr sucks and blows. He is as average of a quarterback as you get. He is so mid. It's not even funny. But they got a lot of weapons. They still got McDaniels. Let's see how he does. They still got Max Crosby and Chandler Jones, maybe the 2 best edge rushers on the same team. So they'll be vying for a playoff spot. We'll see with Carr, how they do. As for Denver should be very worried. Very worried. It just hasn't looked right since Russ got there. The coach is a fucking buffoon. Russell Wilson looks kind of washed up. Their star running back, Javonte Williams, just tore his ACL. He's out for the year. They have a short week this week playing Indy. If they lose to Indy this week, Broncos country, let's ride. Stop the ride. It's over if they lose this week to Indy. Even if they do win, it just doesn't look right. And granted, I'll give them a couple weeks. It's still early in the season. Week 8, 9, 10, you should be turning it around. If they haven't figured it out by then, I would write off Denver. But we'll see. You should be worried, though. I side with the Patriots every week because it's so fucking frustrating because I care so much and I watched this whole game and they should have. They should have won this game. You come in with Brian Hoyer, who's awful. He's fucking washed up, and he gets hurt right away. You say, oh, this is going to be a blowout. Bailey Zappi comes in. This no-name. The name's Bailey. It's a fucking girl's name. No one knows what you're going to get from it. It really is. I don't know any guys named Bailey. I know one chick named Bailey. Anyway, he comes in. They gash the Packers. They run it down their throats. Rodgers makes a bad pick 6 before halftime. You say, they might actually steal one. And you know what? They should have. And I'm going to give Belichick a lot of credit because him and Patricia, I'm really hard on them this year. They had a great game plan. They outclassed Matt LaFleur, not even close, outcoached them, but they should have been more aggressive down the stretch. They were afraid to put the ball in Bailey Zappi's hands, and they kept running it. Even though it was working early in the game, towards late 4th quarter, overtime, it wasn't working. They were stacking the box. At some point, you got to put the ball in the kid's hands and let him make a play, because they lost, because they were too conservative. Have one of your receivers. You traded for Devontae Parker. Let him beat one-on-one coverage. Let Nelson Aguilar, one of these speed guys, Kendrick Bourne, one of them's got to win. I will give him a lot of credit. It was a great game plan. But at the end of the day, you got to make those calls. You got to trust your guy. Why do you draft him if you can't trust him? 1-3, worst Patriots start, I think, since before Brady was drafted. They're not going to make the playoffs. Mac might miss another week. They should beat Detroit, but they should have won this game. It was disappointing. As for the Packers, concerning. They choke every year in the playoffs. Rodgers, everyone hypes him up. Oh, the greatest thing ever. And he always chokes in the playoffs. They might not even get to the point where he can choke in the playoffs this year if they're in games like this. This is a game they should have blown out the Patriots. It shouldn't have even been close. They did win. I'll give them credit, but the receiver group is really, really bad. He might have the worst receiving corps in the league. The defense kind of got exposed. If they can't run the ball, they can't do anything concerning Green Bay. All right, last game for Sunday. Chiefs-Bucks, game of the week, Sunday Night Football. I watched the beginning of it, then I watched House of the Dragon, and then I went back and rewatched the rest of the game. I mean, come on, you can't miss House of that's prime time. But I went back and rewatched during class today. My kids were, they were watching, put on Thor, and I went back and I rewatched Chiefs-Bucks. Nah, they're fine. They're good kids. No, but it's important, I wanted to see how it unfolded, and my biggest takeaway is that Tom is not happy. Tom looks fed up. Some players came back. Godwin, Evans, Julio all came back. Donovan Smith played. They got a lot of guys back, but Tom just doesn't look happy. They fumbled on the opening kickoff. You can't do that. Tom fumbled. He got blitzed. The O-line's not as good as it was when they won the Super Bowl. Tom isn't happy. Is it because of the Buccaneers? Partly. Probably also because Giselle might divorce him and his family might be falling apart. But either way, Tom is not happy. I don't like seeing Tom upset. It actually really bothers me because he's, is my favorite person. Tom Brady has brought me more happiness than anyone or any love interest ever could. Tom Brady doesn't leave me. Tom Brady always delivers, I'm not worried yet about the Bucs. They have plenty of time. It always happens with Tom Brady's team. Slow start. They figure it out. Don't count out Tampa Bay. This really showed me more about Kansas City. Everyone was kind of taking them for granted at the beginning of the year, saying, oh, they're done. They're going to be worse. They lost Tyreek Hill. Mahomes took note. Mahomes is still that dude. And he's slinging the ball like none other. They came, bang, first drive, Kelsey touchdown. They're going to be there at the end of the day. You know what you're getting from Kansas City. They're no joke. They balled out versus Brady. This was, high-scoring affair. These two teams will be there at the end of the season. And those are all the games. That's all we have. Quick hitters. Just wanted to give you my quick thoughts today. Before I log off, remember, like, subscribe, leave a comment. Please, I know, but it helps. And next week, we're going to be talking a lot of games. We're going to be talking Colts, Broncos. See how the Broncos look without Javonte Williams. Can they bounce back? Can the Colts bounce back? We'll be checking in on the Eagles, on the Chiefs, Bills, Bucks, all the best teams in the league. I'll be ranting about the Patriots and Matt Patricia. We'll be back next week, NFL Week 5. Thanks for watching.